When it comes to making change, I know a lot of people might think you can't highlight the bad. You have to highlight the good so people can see the good and they can change their perspective on things or people, right? And so I know a lot of you might see that I talk about the good and the bad parts of races, of sexuality, of humans, of society, right? And it must come off as this big contradiction of how are you going to talk about love in a community but talk about all the bad things that happen inside of a community. And I think the most important thing about that is that we have to realize that when it comes to being the minority, whether it comes to sexuality or races, or in whatever way you are oppressed in this society, a lot of us that are oppressed have internal conflicts with other people in the same community. And when I think about the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X running, marching with thousands and thousands of people every day, I think about and know not every single person that was on that front line liked each other, respected each other, ate with each other when it was done. But when it comes to making change, it's very important that we all know that for us to change, for us to have a government to look at us differently, to respect us, to see us as equals, we have to put down the burdens, the trauma, the arguments, the petty issues that happen behind doors to look at the bigger picture. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm this almighty hierarchy person. Trust me, there are some black people that I do not like. There are some queer people that I do not like. There are people from every race that I do not like. But the problem is that if we show the worst parts of ourselves, that gives the power of the oppressor to feel like they are better than us. When we look at black people, we are probably the most judged race out there, the most stereotypical race out there. And it's important for us to not highlight the petty crimes or the quote-unquote loudness or ghetto-ness that is attached to our names. Because let me make this clear. No race, no sexuality, no human is perfect. It's impossible to literally be perfect. But if our flaws, if our imperfections are shown more than other races are, then that gives people the ideology that they can feel like they're better than us. And so the reason I highlight the good and the bad of the LGBTQ community, the good and the bad of the African American community, the Asian community, the white community, the Mexican, is to show that no one's perfect. Everyone has their bad apples. Everyone has their bad times. But it's up to us to come together and realize that if we want any type of respect or notoriety, we need to stand up. And that person that you probably been beefing with or don't like or have had an argument with over something petty should not matter when it comes to being changed. Because when it comes, and if it ever comes to a point where we need to stand on a front line and we need to raise our hands in the air and say Black Lives Matter or LGBTQ lives matter or whatever, minorities matter, you need to know that that person that you argue with cannot be your enemy, cannot be somebody that just stabbed you in the back. Y'all need to stand tall and tight if we ever get back to a point where we need to start a revolution. Because even though you might hate that person with the most depths of your gut, sometimes you have to look at the people that you don't like, to the people that you don't want to stand with, and think higher than that. Think about the family that this person has. Think about the kids this person might have. Think about even just the life this person deserves. You don't have to like somebody to know that they deserve a good life. And so sometimes when you subject it down to that, to the thought that we all stand on this line because we all want a good life and deserve a good life, we will become more powerful than anybody has ever thought, because it's bigger than us. The fight for equality, the fight for freedom, for our rights, for our safety, for our children, our grandchildren, and the kids that come after them, it's bigger than us. And so it's important to highlight the good with the bad, because you need to see that we, no matter how much turmoil might run through our veins, we stand together. And that because we are flawed, we have to know that the next race or the next human or the next society isn't better than us because we are flawed.